Welcome to the David the Dog Trainer podcast, episode 57.
I don't even know what to say right now. Oh.
I'll tell you, I need a beer for this one.
This is a beer podcast. So.
Hang on, I gotta take a quick sip.
All right. What you got there?
So this is a Unplugged Brewing Company based out of Elyria, Ohio. This is their Coquito, which is a spiced ale with coconut, cinnamon, milk sugar, and vanilla. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Whatever. What else can I say? Here we are.
Well,
so we are interrupting our regularly scheduled broadcast of doing Tom Davis Review Part 3. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to push that to the side. We're sitting down in the hot seat right now.
Yeah, we are.
What can I say? We're catching some flack. We've had some controversy,
to say the least.
to say the least, happen on our channel lately, which is why we have our Instagram page pulled up here, because we're going to have a nice, good little deep dive into what's going on. So,
Oh, yeah.
I don't even think we need to, we just saw each other 2 days ago. So nothing's fucking new aside from this right now.
Yes,
so we're going to
pretty
talk about this. So here we go. So basically, in a nutshell, listen, this is not our first rodeo when it comes to catching some heat on the internet over a video that we posted, right? I mean, Josh, we've been working together for quite a long time now, and you've seen your fair share of positive advocates, positive only trainers, whatever, internet fucking warriors, right? That want to come on our page, try to stir the pot, and start bringing some stuff down. So basically, what's happened here is maybe a month ago or so, right? We somebody started following our page. I think his name is John Trains Dogs or something, right? Mm-hmm. And about a month ago or so, John started kind of appearing in our comment section. And whatever, he's a positive only trainer, right? And he's, whatever, doesn't have a massive following. He's based out of Rhode Island. And John has just been basically for the last month on every single video that we post, commenting some sort of snarky, every dog you train looks so scared, your methods are horrible, this, that, blah, blah. Brush it off, no big deal. He took a ton of our videos, one in particular that I could think of. Let me pull it up real quick here. I posted a video. Yeah, this one. So these are my personal dogs here, right? Mm-hmm. And I posted this video. I got some volume here. Here we go. I posted this video here of my personal dogs and said, dog attacking the vacuum cleaner. We were cleaning up our Christmas decorations and something on one of our snow days, and Kate was vacuuming. You'll see here. And, we didn't really think anything of it. We were just vacuuming and cleaning, and our dogs were out and stuff. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, wow, all of our dogs are just chilling there. And this is something that people regularly struggle with. A lot of people come to us and they're like, our dog attacks the vacuum cleaner. We can't vacuum our house with our dog out. This, that, right? It's a huge, massive problem. So I just made a post discussing our concepts behind working through some of these problems and how we go about addressing specific behavioral issues that we're having, and how a lot of people will use a downstay or a bed stay or something to work through these issues, right? And, we don't do that, right? We address the root of the problem, which is the actual attacking of the vacuum cleaner.
Yep.
Whatever. This kind of started a war in the comments section with this guy. This guy. All of these here, you want to read it? I can't read it that well from here.
All of these dogs are scared of what is going on. They are communicating it with their body language, correcting in parentheses them with stimulation in parentheses isn't going to make them feel any better about what is happening. Flooding them with the vacuum isn't going to help. How about just put them in the other room for starters? Before you accuse me of trolling, maybe stop and think about the possibility that there being a better, more humane way to handle this.
Okay. So these are my personal dogs, guys.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah.
I promise you, they're not scared. None of them are scared of the vacuum cleaner. You'll see here. They're chilling. Vinny walks right by the vacuum cleaner because he doesn't give a shit, because he's fucking Vinny, right? Waffles is standing there like the idiot puppy that he is, Deli is sitting there looking like an awkward weirdo because she looks like an awkward weirdo like 90% of her life.
Yeah.
And Vera is doing what Vera always does, which is sleeping in the background in the corner.
Yeah.
Right? So I say this as a precursor for everything else we're going to talk about to give you guys context that they're looking, right? Like this guy found our page and suddenly we're under the microscope of him, right? Yeah. Like every single post we post is coming out. The guy follows us, right? Yeah. Like he hates us, but he follows our page, right?
Yep.
And he's looking in every single video and trying to find something. And then he's going in and he's commenting on everybody else's comments as well. He's trolling, right? This person commented, 1 correction with my dog around the vacuum solved my issue. He now doesn't even run away from it. He learned that he could be okay and not act on his discomfort and had the experience that he is in fact safe and doesn't need to be scared. Love your work, right? Because it works, right? The things we preach work for a reason. There's a reason why we have over 7,000 followers right now. I'm not saying that's the most in the world by any means, but that's a pretty good following that we've achieved at this point because the stuff we do and the stuff we say works, right? And our clients are happy. So he's going in. He's like, are you sure he's okay? Or is he like the dogs in this video, scared and stressed? Guys, my dogs are not scared. And I promise you, I know my dogs. They are not scared and stressed. Also, if you're going to start throwing out these like assumptions all the time of the emotional state of dogs in 10-second video clips without here's the problem with a lot of this, right? You can't make an assessment like that off of a video clip because you have no baseline to work off of.
Yeah.
Right? It's like saying, he's going into this with the assumption that all dogs start prior to training at perfectly stable and happy, right? And as you start the training process, you could either make them more happy if you take a positive-only approach, or you could make them less happy, more scared, more shut down if you take a balanced training approach, right? Again, just using my personal dogs because I know them, because they're my fucking dogs.
Yeah.
Like I finished explaining here, Vera has a pretty damn chill, calm temperament. Not a whole lot scares her. Not a whole lot stresses her out. She's pretty cool with just about anything. So her baseline is chill all the time. Right? Yeah. Deli, look at this. Deli, this face she's making. Can you zoom in on this face for a minute? I need you to show this, right? You see this face that she's making right now where she looks like a pitiful little seal or something? Yeah. Guys, you could take it off of that now. Literally, Deli looks like that all the time. She literally looks like that all the time, right? Yeah. She is, you know how everybody says, my dog's quirky, they do funny things here, they act funny here, whatever, like well before we ever even start training. Deli is the most awkward dog you'll ever meet, right? Literally, just the fact that I probably had my phone out and pointed the phone at her, she was just like, what is that? I don't know how I feel about that. That makes me kind of uncomfortable, guys, because everything makes her uncomfortable. Like, that's just the kind of dog that she is, right? Vinny also ain't scared of shit, but he's a neurotic little psychopath, right? Yeah. Like, his behavior is like, I don't know what's going on all the time. I need to be constantly moving because I'm a freaking Malinois, right? Yeah. And I'm kind of a psychopath, and I just want to be a part of everything and see what's going on, right? See, he's walking around the vacuum cleaner, right? Oh, no, he backed up from the vacuum cleaner. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so scared of it. Whatever.
Oh, no.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's the problem, right? You have no baseline to go off of with things, right? You have no baseline of like, had I corrected my dogs for this behavior, right? Had I corrected them for going to the vacuum, what was their behavior or what was their attitude prior to that happening?
Yeah.
Right? So whatever. We're starting with this video so you guys can obviously see here. At first, I kind of entertained it a little bit, right? I would reply back to the comments. We would say things back and forth and, whatever. the guy, Kate commented back and stuff like that, whatever.
Yeah.
The dude's trolling, right? I literally said, you comment on every single one of our videos, and I think it's time that you take a look at your own page and ask yourself the question of if you really just not have any clients or other things you should be doing that would be productive to owners other than try to change the mind of people you don't even know, right?
Yeah.
Because look at this guy's page, right? Let's go to it real quick. His whole page, right, is beware of this. Don't listen to this person. This is why shock collars are bad. And then a bunch of this is why this is false. This is why your dog's not trying to control you. This is why you don't need to punish your dog. This is why it's okay to comfort your dog. Here's this trainer's post that I disagree with and why I disagree with it. Here's this. Here's that. Blah, blah, right? And then if you go in, I don't even know if he has anything of recent on here, but like typically speaking, yeah. He goes in, and this is what he does all the time. He comments on people's pages, right? And then he reposts the comments back to it. He's like, look it, I hate this.
Wow.
Look it. Imagine being so this. Imagine being this. Oh, here's more comments back to me. Oh, here's comments back to me. Blah, 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 right? That's what he does. He's reposted almost all of our... He has literally a section on his page entitled Bad Advice. That all it is just going in the comment sections of people's pages and just reposting. Here, there's ours right there that he put in it, right? Here's another one. Here's another one. Blah, 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 blah. Bad advice. Look at this person's comment. Look at this person's comment. So this guy is basically a professional troll, right?
Yeah.
He is basically making a name for himself, just going around and pulling comments of other people's and reposting them and saying, this is bad, with no context of what you should actually do.
Yeah.
Right? So frustrating, right? So this has been kind of been, frustrating me a little bit, if you will. Right? Hang on, let me go back to our page here. So that's kind of where this started, right? Like all these comments that we talk, he's like, this is awful. Don't listen to this. Don't listen to this, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Yeah.
So that progresses. And, we get further along. He keeps commenting on things. Suddenly we made this post the other day, right? All right, so Hank, what was it, maybe 2? It's entitled The Magic of Balanced Dog Training. And listen, as far as these titles and stuff are concerned, I don't make these videos. Our media staff makes them. They pull clips from our videos. Whatever. The magic, I said at some point in it, I think this is the magic / not so magic. You'll hear. Yeah. Ago, something like that came in for daycare. A really freaking dog reactive Rottweiler. We started incorporating like the Bonker for working through some of the react. So we talked about incorporating the Bonker for this, which we'll get into in a minute. And then some positive reinforcement when he does it well. And in the last 2 weeks, we've seen just like a complete 180 night and day difference in his behavior. Literally zero reactivity. Little hesitant still, which is why we're using a lot of positive reinforcement now to build him back up. But we've stopped ultimately the reactive behavior that we were experiencing out of him, and we're finding a lot of success from it. And this just goes to show again what balanced training is. Balanced training is leveraging both sides of the spectrum and essentially correcting or inhibiting behaviors we don't like and reinforcing behaviors that we do like. And that is the magic / not so magic formula of how we go about solving behavioral issues with dogs, right? Pretty straightforward, right? So basically, to give everybody further context, let's go back 3 weeks before that post. Let's get to before and after extreme dog reactivity. So hold that down. Okay. So a 4-second clip to show you guys. It ain't no joke. He's a freaking dog reactive dog, right? And not just a dog reactive. He also has a hint of dog aggression to him, right?
Yeah.
Like this dog will seriously injure a dog if he gets loose from that leash.
Oh, hell
this
yeah.
dog will seriously injure a dog if he gets too close to another dog. This dog will seriously injure a dog if another dog comes up to him when he's in that state of mind, right?
Yep.
we tried e-collar work with him, right? We got him a lot of the way there, working through some of the other issues, doing all of the typical things that positive-only trainers would recommend, sans obviously the corrections we were providing, but like working from a distance, we used a ton of positive reinforcement with this dog to try to shift his attention onto us and just use as many different methods to leverage that focus onto us as we could, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, we got a decent amount of the way there, but when he would get set off still, he would get set off still, right? And when he got set off, this is an issue we'll run into with like what I call like the 1%ers of dog reactive cases. When he gets set off, these dogs, their quote unquote pain or discomfort tolerance is so high that the e-collar is useless in that moment, right? There's no like correcting the behavior away with that type of a method with things, right? It's not going to happen, right? And frankly, we get into, right, like we got a lot of progress, but we got to get this the rest of the way there, right? Yeah. So then we get into, so why did this stir the pot so much? So it stirred the pot because I said in it that we used the bonker, right? So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's get into the tool of the bonker because this is what everybody freaks the fuck out about. Now, before we get into that, let's look at when we posted this video, the comment section of this. Wow, damn. Look at, love this. Holy shit, exclamation points, blah, blah, blah. Y'all are doing amazing work. Questions about dog having self-control to play with other dogs, post something like this. Wow, you guys do great work. This is amazing, Because here's the thing. So many people struggle with dogs like this, and so many people can't find success with dogs like this, right? Yep. And I've said this before, right? A lot of the positive-only trainers that come on our page and try to say, oh, there's a better way, there's a better way, there's a better way. There's no proof that there's a better way out there. And if there was a better way with things, I always say, dude, people are spending thousands of dollars on training for these dogs, right? Yeah. Most positive-only training programs are far cheaper than ours, right? I mean, frankly, like we charge on definitely the upper tier of what companies charge for dog training. Most positive-only training companies are dirt cheap. And I say dirt cheap in comparison to ours. I'm not saying they're cheap, but you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Don't you think that if those methods worked so well in working through issues like this and they were cheaper than ours, that people would go to them? Most likely, right? Yeah. But guess what? It's not happening, right? Because there's this false narrative that's at play that we could work through these issues, but it's going to take you years and years to work through it. You're going to have to manage all these things. You're going to plateau and hit a certain point that you can't get any further with this. And basically, there's a big roundabout way of saying, we actually don't know how to solve this problem, right? We have an idea of what science says should solve this problem, right? But because we don't live in a box, because we don't live in a zoo, because we don't live in an aquarium where we have control over everything going on around us, there's too much unpredictability in the world. And because of that, you're probably never going to find the actual success you're looking for. Yeah. Because positive reinforcement, by definition, increases behavior. It doesn't decrease behavior. So when you're dealing with competing motivators, in this case, a dog that's this reactive, that competing motivator of him reacting towards something else is going to be 10 times stronger of a reinforcement due to the adrenaline buildup and the dopamine that hits him from it than anything else you're going to provide him, right? And you're probably not going to get past that issue, right? Yeah. So whatever. So getting back to the bonker here, and again, just look at all these comments, right? We had so many people comment on this, like, wow, this is incredible. I can't believe you guys are able to get this success. And I'll tell you, we'll get into what the bonker is in a minute here. I bonked this dog, I think 1 or 2 times, maybe 2 times, right? We tried to get him to react to other dogs. We couldn't get it. Like, it inhibited the behavior. Like, it was gone. It literally was gone. It went away. We pushed every button we could to try to get him to react, and we could not get him to do so. Period. Right? And again, I'll show you plenty of videos on us testing that and letting dogs get this fucking close to his face and him ignoring them. Right?
Hell yeah.
Worked pretty freaking well, especially when you're dealing with a dog that's this reactive. His owner verbatim told us, I don't know what we're going to do with this dog. If we can't get a handle on this dog, and she's so nice. She's so kind. She loves this dog so much, right? But this is a seriously dangerous behavior. This is a seriously serious dog. Yeah. Seriously serious. You know what I mean? She's going to have to get rid of him, she's gonna have to euthanize. You know what I mean? Like what do you do when you have a dog like that? If you figure that dog does that behavior every time he sees another dog from freaking forever away, what do you do with him? You can't take him out of your house. You can't leave him in your yard because he's strong enough where he'll break through your fence if he reacts. You know what I mean? Like, what do you do with him? You can't manage that behavior forever.
No.
So we're dealing with freaking life and death in these cases with these kinds of dogs.
Yeah.
Right? So let's get to what the bonker is. The bonker is a rolled up towel. It's a towel. Go take one of your bath towels, fold it in half hot dog wise, roll it up real tight, put 2 rubber bands around the end of it. You got yourself a bonker. Now, how do we use the bonker, right? You take it, you say no, and you throw it at the dog.
Yeah.
And listen, here's the thing. I'm going to say so much shit in this podcast that like all these freaking trainers are going to be able to clip and like be like, look at this. They're going to take that clip right there. Me saying, you take it, you say no, and you throw it at the dog. And they're going to repost that and be like, look at what he's telling people to do. Look at it. He's advocating abuse of dogs. Boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like the world we live in right now, where you take everything out of context and you pull as many itty bitty clips as you can and you put them together and you make one real juicy thing that you can throw out there into the fucking media for people to eat up because you got nothing better to do with your time and because all you want to do is fucking tear somebody down.
Yeah.
Right? So back to the bonker. Hold on, I gotta set this goddamn beer.
I was gonna say that's a beer drink right there.
Okay. So the bonker, it's a tool that you throw at the dog that startles them out of their behavior, right? Now, let's go now to our stories because I made a nice, after all this drama started this morning, I was like, I have to address this, right?
Yep.
Just so everybody kind of has an idea of why there's like hundreds of people at this point fucking commenting on our shit.
Yeah.
Right? So here we go. So let's get into our stories here. So, made this story. I said, let's talk about this dog for a minute. This is Hank. This is the video we just watched. The before and after, him freaking the fuck out. And here's the after. We didn't show this yet. See him chilling there? I don't know if that... Is that the whole video? Hang on. How do I go to this? See post. All right, here we go. See the whole post. So here we go. So we have him reacting, obviously. He's freaking the fuck out because this is what he does. This is who he is, right? Here he is chilling. Look at these dogs pulling up towards him. He's chilling there. He's not reacting. Is he a little stressed? Sure. Yes, he's a little stressed. He just got in trouble for fucking trying, literally for showing extremely dangerous behavior, right?
Yeah.
But guess what he's not doing? He's not reacting.
Yeah.
Right? So here we go. You know, walking around, get a bunch of pass-bys with dogs and stuff like that. Very cool. So there's the video, right? So now back to our stories here for a second. Let's talk about this dog for a minute. Showed that video, right? Next, I said, these few posts with Hank showing the success we've achieved with him in the last few weeks have really stirred the pot lately. And then I said, you could see in the comment section of this post. So I reposted the second post where I said the magic of balance training or whatever, right? And where we said we used the bonker, which really sparked everything, right? Next one. I said, almost all of that controversy due to us... Jesus fucking Christ. Almost all of that controversy is due to us implementing a tool called a bonker, which is in a God damn it. How do I pause this thing?
There you go.
There we go. Which is, in a nutshell, a towel that is thrown at the dog to interrupt the behavior. This has sparked an outrage. So again, like I said, it's a towel that you literally throw at the dog.
Yeah.
Right? Next one. Here we go. I said, through this, it's important to address two key things. One, all of these people or trainers that are commenting on these posts, and I put trainers in parentheses because if you look, the majority of these people, some of them are dog trainers, right? And whatever, we could use that word loosely. I don't know how much they're training. I don't know how many clients they're working with. I don't know what type of training they do. That's not the point of this conversation. But the reason why I said that is because the majority of these people are dog owners that support positive only training.
Yeah.
right? So they're not trainers. They don't work with dogs all the time. They work with, their only experience with working with dogs is that of which working with their own dog, right? And I'll tell you, maybe some of, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some of them had dogs as bad as Hank.
Yeah.
I'd be led to believe they did not. All of these people are trainers that are commenting on these posts have been openly invited to join me on my podcast to have a discussion on training methods and how these issues can be solved more effectively if that magic way exists. This is the key. All of them have declined because they didn't have the time to waste on me, yet they all are still here spending hours of their day in our comment section, harassing everybody who comments on our stuff in support of the work we do. This is another key here. I will not block these people from our channel because I said here, that implies we have something to hide, which we do not, right? Yep. In addition to that, that's what they want.
Oh, yeah.
Every one of these people, I went through their stories as they posted, just because I'm curious, like, who is this person? Why are they posting this, and that? Every single one of them, like that, like John, right? All they do all day long is repost different balanced trainers' videos and talk about how much they hate them and talk about how there's a better way to do it, but don't actually show how to do it, right? All of them. And they harass them over and over and over again. And the amount of times I've seen them then repost, oh, Joe Schmo dog trainer finally blocked me. Looks like he can't handle the conversation or something like that. That's what they're looking for because they're internet trolls. They're keyboard warriors. And I shouldn't even, I'm getting my blood boiling over this right now. Like, this is frustrating me, not because it's happening to me. Like I said, this is not my first rodeo with this. We've had enough people do this before, but because I know that, right? I'm a trainer that's been around for now almost 10 years. I've been training for a long time, right? I can handle this. I know in a couple days, frankly, even today after I posted this, radio silence. Nobody fucking said anything, right? It's pretty much over at this point, I think, knock on wood, whatever. You know? But new trainers, new up-and-coming trainers in the industry, forget the bonker. They don't care about the bonker. They care about me as a balanced training advocate, right? And they care that they want to squash as much of that as possible because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Yeah.
Right? And the bonker is just the only one that stuck. Like I said, they've been commenting on our shit for months. That's just the only one that stuck, right?
Yeah.
So this frustrates me because this is what dog trainers that are actually helping dogs have to deal with on a daily basis, right? And I've said this before. I think there's different tiers in which people will get, like, quote unquote assaulted over this stuff.
Yeah.
The amount of trainers I've seen that are brand new, they just started their page, 100 followers, 150 followers, something like that. They're trying to do good work. Yep. You know what I mean? They care about the clients. They care about the dogs, right? They're educating themselves, right? They're figuring things out. And they just get fucking slaughtered by people, right? Yep. And they don't have the reputation to save themselves. And they just get freaking slaughtered by these people like this, like what's happening right now on our page. And you figure if you only have 100 followers and you're desperately trying to get business and any new prospective client goes on your page and sees hundreds and hundreds of comments of people like, fuck you, you're abusing dogs. Fuck you, you're an animal abuser. Oh, you like to fucking hit dogs. Oh, you like to fucking shock dogs. You're such a piece of shit. You should go to jail for this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not over exaggerating. We'll read some of the comments. That's what people are saying.
Yeah.
Right? You think they're going to get any business?
No.
Of course not. Right? Does that mean that that's true?
No.
Fuck no. Fuck no. Right? So they target these smaller tier companies. And then they also target, once they start seeing a page get some momentum, they target those pages too. Right? And they go after them hard because it's like, wow, like you're actually becoming a threat right now. Right? You're actually proving some of the things we have to say are incorrect. So we're going to go even harder on you. Right? Now, here's the thing, too. So I sat in here. I invited all of them on here. I extremely politely, again, we'll read some of the comments here, extremely politely invited all of them on, every single one of them. Come on the podcast. Listen, let's have a conversation about it. Right? I'm not saying I have nothing I could learn. Right? I'm not saying that I know everything, right? But I'm saying that I'm willing to talk to you about it. right? And especially since all of them, they're asking questions and stuff on like snarky questions.
Yeah.
If you actually want to know these things, right, and you want to get into my head of why I think this is okay if you think it's so wrong, right, let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And listen, if you're right, you can prove me wrong. You could come on here. We could have a conversation about it. And again, we could do it virtually. You know, like obviously everybody knows you could have a podcast guest on virtually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's have a conversation about it. And you could just destroy me. You could it could be Joe Schmo Positive Only Trainer destroys David the Dog Trainer. I got to take my coat off. I'm getting
you're getting
toasty.
heated, huh?
I'm getting toasty. Destroy. It's like those Ben Shapiro comments. You know, like Ben Shapiro destroys liberal or this or that. You know what I mean? You could come on here and you could just prove me wrong, and you could, because a lot of them like to say, you don't know anything about science, you don't know anything about this. You could just prove everything I say is wrong scientifically. And here's the thing, we can't go back and forth showing each other videos. It would just be a conversation. So you could hypothetically win that argument. And if your goal, like you'll see a lot of them are saying like, we're just still commenting here because we want all your followers to see how wrong you are and this and that. We have now coming up on 10,000 downloads on this podcast. Prove those 10,000 people wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't want to, right?
No,
and every
not.
single one of them, after we had a very polite back and forth, here was their reply. And this is bullshit, right? Here's their reply.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I'll come on your podcast. Can you just send me all of your credentials and where you went to school and what your education is and where, you know, like, so that I can make sure, you know, I only designate my time. My time is valuable. I only designate it to educated professionals in the industry, right? And they commented, oh, and I need to be compensated for my time to come on your podcast. And I reply back, I'm like, okay, well, I was like, if you know that I don't have the qualifications you're looking for, right? We've talked about this before. There's no real qualifications in dog training because it's an unregulated industry. So like, again, you could have whatever credentials you want, but they don't mean anything, right? So you know I don't have those, right? The ones that you're looking for, right? And you say that I'm not worth your time, but yet you're still spending hours on my page commenting all the time. Right? So are you just scared to have the conversation? Like I don't understand, right?
Yeah.
One lady that was really being a word in the comment section said the same thing. Oh, yeah, and she said, if you're interested in learning more from me, I'll charge you double what your rate is to make up for my PhD that I have or something like that. She's like, yeah, $300 an hour. So I told her, I told her, dead serious. I was like, I'll pay you $300 to come on my podcast for an hour.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, you know, like you just said, you'll charge me $300 for a consultation. Let's just do it live instead of having it behind the scenes. So you get paid to Positive Only Trainer destroys David the Dog Trainer, right? Same deal. Yeah. Oh, no, I only do podcasts with qualified, certified professionals, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have anything to say. They're not interested in having a conversation.
No.
Right? So let's get into this. Well, let's keep going here. We're rolling through this right now. I keep kind of going on little tangents, right? Next one here. So I said, and look at this cute picture of waffles. I had to throw that one in there. I said in 2, why would we implement a tool that requires us to quotations hit the dog, and I said in parentheses, which generally to say is not the goal, that will be answered by the following question, oh man, I can't talk today. That will be answered by the following answer to a question we just received and also answered on a special podcast I'll be doing today that will be released right away for you to listen to where I address some of this nonsense. Okay. The biggest thing we're going to discuss today is the semantics of the word hit, first off, right? And second off, again, why a tool like the Bonker works. And again, I know, stay with me for a little bit here because I still need to really get into the details of what the Bonker is, why it works, et cetera, et cetera. That will be explained in a second here, right? So this person asked me, this is somebody that I blocked out their name, obviously, so that they stayed anonymous. This is fucked up, first off, though. Person said, hey, David, I have a question about this, but I'm afraid to post on your actual Instagram post, you know, in case I start getting flooded by negative comments from force-free trainers. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, leave our followers alone. You know what? It pisses me off. This is a little bit of a dilemma, right? Like, I can't block, you know what I mean? Like blocking them lets them win in this case. And not that this is about winning necessarily, but it almost like proves guilt. It's like an admission of guilt almost. You know what I mean? But we got people that are scared to comment on our post because you guys are being such fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whatever. So a person said, and a good question. This is a logical question to ask. They said, why would you use a bonker instead of an e-collar? Wouldn't that work just as well if you need to discourage the undesirable behavior? I'm not asking because I want to criticize, but I'm asking because I'm curious. Great question.
Yes.
Phenomenal question. So that's my reply here. So I said, no, that is a great question. I'm actually going to be discussing this whole controversy on my podcast episode today, where I'm going to get into the weeds of why certain tools are used and how we select them, et cetera, et cetera. In a nutshell, some dogs have unbelievably high pain thresholds, making the e-collar extremely ineffective in high arousal states. This dog being one of them. But having very, very low startle thresholds, right? Bonkers work not off any pain or physical discomfort, but from the startle of the tool moving quickly in their direction. There is also a lot of misuse around the tool and stigma around it, as you could tell, LOL. I want to address. The bonker is our least used tool because of how much flack it gets, and understandably so to an extent when taken out of context. This is the only dog we've implemented it with in the last year, which is true. But one in the toolbox nonetheless, and in this dog's case is going to be a lifesaver as he's on the end of his ropes at home because of his dangerous behavior. I further said, we have been successful for so long because of our black and white transparency about everything, including discussing and showing all methods that we use for things and not hiding behind things, being all rainbows and butterflies. That is not the case when working with aggression or serious behavior modification at times. With that comes trolls and keyboard warriors. This isn't the first time we've experienced these people bombarding our page. I said, we're here for every one of our clients forever and ever. We love and appreciate your support, and we're here to help clarify anything you may have questions on or be confused by. Much love. All right. So we'll go back to this answer here. We're going to start breaking some of this down here. This is where we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the bonker. So first off, where did the bonker come from, right? The bonker came from Gary Wilkes. We've talked about Gary forever. Gary created this tool freaking forever ago. Like, honestly, probably like 15, 20 years ago, maybe longer than that at this point. Probably, he was probably in the 90s. He pioneered this tool, if you will, right? Now, why did he pioneer this tool? At the time, electronic collars still existed, right? At the time, prong collars existed, choke chains existed, et cetera, right? But if you look at all of those tools at their core, right? Let's not sugarcoat this, right? They're using discomfort or quote unquote pain, right? This is another part. This is, again, discussing semantics of words, right? So many words have such negative associations with it. And I have really tried my best to not shy away from certain words because of those negative connotations to them, because I think it's important that we kind of take some of those words back a little bit and have them be not so horrible of things, right? Yeah. We as humans experience pain. We experience all sorts of different pains. We experience emotional pains, physical pains, various different intensities of pains, et cetera, right? Pain can be anything from like a little bit of a discomfort, right, to extreme unbearable pain, right? But Gary realized very early on that typically speaking, most dogs that were coming to him, right, were coming to him for very high arousing negative behaviors. Dog reactivity, dog aggression, human reactivity, human aggression, et cetera, et cetera. And typically speaking, those dogs were in a very high aroused state of mind, right? He realized very early on that one thing that typically was more effective with a majority of the dogs was a strong, and again, I'm going to use another trigger word right now, a strong fear drive, right? Or in this case, I used startle threshold, right? A lot of these dogs have very low startle thresholds when they're reacting at something. That's why redirected aggression is such a common thing, right? when they're reacting at something and something suddenly appears next to them, it freaks them the fuck out, right? So because he realized that, he started also realizing that so I went to one of his seminars one time, and he actually told me verbatim where he invented the bonker, right? Okay. He was working with a family that had 2 dogs that were getting into fights with each other, right? And I don't know if this is for sure where he invented it, but this is where he said it really clicked for him. Right? Yeah. He was working with 2 dogs that were having aggression issues towards each other, right? And he was getting ready to leave the house, and these dogs started looking at each other like they were about to fuck each other up, right? And nobody knew what to do. He grabbed the nearest thing to him, which was a throw pillow on a couch, and he chucked it at the dogs, right? And he said, both dogs, wham, shot away from that thing. They were terrified of it. It was like, what the hell is this thing? And he said, it stopped a fight from happening, right? And he said they continued to see a 2-month period of time where there was no aggression displayed towards each other. Right?
Hell yeah.
Something that previously obviously was not the case.
No.
So that told him 2 things. One, things that scare dogs like that, even though it created 0 physical discomfort, it created quote unquote emotional discomfort, whatever you want to call it, right? He said work extremely well in suppressing behaviors, right? And past just that, projectiles are very motivating to dogs.
Yeah.
Right? That's why it worked. He threw it at the dog. It came flying at them. And let's use another trigger word here. It hit one of them. Right? So whatever. So he created the bonker for that reason. Right? And he further started using it with dog reactive dogs. And he has tons of before and after videos on his YouTube channel of him bonking dogs for different things. Right? Bonking dogs for... jumping, bonking dogs for reacting, this, that. And he found that that was the most effective punisher that he had ever used with a dog. More effective than e-collars, more effective than all these other things. And he started using it exclusively, and to this day uses exclusively as his tool of choice, right? Now, here's the thing, right? That is all accurate, right? That doesn't change the fact that I'm empathetic to the fact that a bonker looks bad, right?
Yeah.
This is where you get into arguing semantics here, right? Like, yes, the bonker is hitting the dog. You are hitting the dog with the bonker, right? But the semantics of the word hit and it being like, oh, okay, cool. Well, what if it just like grazes past them? What if it just touches them? Doesn't a door hit them when you close a door and they're kind of in that door? You know what I mean? What if you drop something off the ground and it hits their foot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like why is like that inherently is not this horrible word or horrible thing, right? When put into context of things, right?
Yeah.
So because it doesn't look bad or because it looks bad and because, like I said, this he found was the most effective punisher, meaning these dogs were highly aversive by the bonker, right? Makes it, in my opinion, extremely unnecessary or extremely over the top for some dogs, right? So you get into dogs that aren't these 1% cases. You get into these dogs that are not... extremely aggressive or reactive, and you get into just bonking dogs for little things like, again, jumping or stealing a treat off the ground or this or that. I would agree with everybody that that's complete overkill. No differently than if my dog comes over and paws you, right, and I have an e-collar on them, right, and I nail them on 100 for like 10 seconds on the e-collar, which would be an unbelievably aversive experience to the dog, right? There would be no reason to do that, and that would be extremely unfair to the dog, and I don't want to say it would be abusive, but like if you start getting into defining the semantics of words, an over-the-top punisher when you know something less aversive would do the job as well can be quote-unquote misconstrued as abusive in those types of situations, right?
I agree.
To me, the way I've always defined something like abuse is when you're using a punisher, regardless of how intense it is or not intense it is, when you're using it in a manner that is, one, not very clearly for something specific, right? And two, used out of a place of frustration, right? That's where I would get into, like, you start to teeter the line of abuse at that point, obviously, right? So, like, people just, like, getting pissed off at their dog and, like, hitting them, or people getting pissed off their dog and just grabbing an e-collar, just frying them a bunch of times because they're angry or things like that. Like, that's fucking abuse. You know what I mean? Over-the-top corrections teeters on that line, right? So if my dog came over and pawed you for that, and our mentality, typically speaking, is as little pressure as we can get away with, but as much as we need to, and you start right away with a ridiculous, extreme, over-the-top correction, that would be unnecessary, right? So getting to the bonker here, for some dogs, because it's so aversive, going right into using that 100% of the time for every dog, when maybe there's a less aversive thing that will also get that point across, right? That would be unnecessary. I would not like that. I would not approve of that. And that's why I think a lot of trainers, including balance trainers, have a negative association with the bonker, right? Yeah. So let's get into further discussing this here, though, and moving into using it in these types of situations, right? I think the problem really is that even though we're able to show a before and after of the dog's progress and a before and after of how much of a difference we saw with it, because positive only trainers have this mentality of corrections don't long-term work, right? And corrections don't actually stop the behavior, there's just no winning the argument, right? Because I look at something like this and I look at the bonker as my last resort tool, right? If I've exhausted every other option and I've tried to be as nice as I can about working through certain things, and I need to hit a point where it's like, we need to get this under control. I know this tool is probably going to be more effective than anything else I've ever tried, so we're going to give it a go. And if it works, that I could justify that completely in my head. And look at, regardless of if you want to say I'm hitting a dog or this or that, I could look at what I just did accomplish the goal of potentially saving this dog's life. Right? And I can validate that. You know what I mean? It's like if you get into the conversation of like, this is going to be a ridiculous hypothetical example here, right? Okay. But like, this is like saying if let's say you have a dog that is 2 years old or however old, right? And is fucking mauling people, right? And dog is going to get put down tomorrow if you can't with 1,000,000% certainty ensure that it never happens again, kind of thing. And you could say, you know, if when the dog mauls somebody, you know, I don't know, do something really crazy or really horrible or something like that in that moment, right? And that would guarantee that it never, ever, 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 ever happened again, and that your dog would be able to live out the rest of its life successfully. You know, you get into like, does the end justify the means, right? And that's a tricky conversation to have sometimes, right? Yeah. And you have to weigh it out, right? And in a case like this, when you get into a tool like this, again, this is not the most horrible thing in the world. No. It's a towel, guys. Yeah. And again, it looks bad. I'll give you that, right? When I take a bonker and I throw it at a dog and I go, no, wham, right? And throw that thing at that dog, right? It doesn't look nice. It scares the dog usually. You know what I mean? But if it stops the behavior, in a case like this of the extreme intensity of some of these behaviors, it's not the most horrible thing in my opinion. I don't know. No. You know?
Yeah. Throwing a towel and not getting euthanized, I think that's a pretty good trade-off, if you ask me.
So whatever. So let's get into now. Let's go to the post, right? And let's start let's break down some of these comments. All right, so Hank... right. So we got people. So... this fucking loser, right? So, you know, this person, and again, you get into these people trying to be like, oh, I'm so curious about this, and then you go on their page and they're, you know, whatever, a positive only advocate. They got all these letters after their name, right? Look at us, training positive only, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? Hold on. All right, so Hank, so this person says, how do I make this bigger? Whatever. Do you have a footage of a session where a bonker's applied to a dog? I'm confused on the mechanics of this technique. And then our boy John. The mechanics are you take an object and hit your dog when they're doing something wrong. Why don't you make a video and demo how you take the object and strike a dog with it? I bet all your followers would love to see you hit a dog, right? Like, let's just throw as many trigger words as possible in here. That's like the same thing as saying, like, first off, let me also tell you, a lot of times with this tool, what you could do is you could literally take it, and let's pretend this notebook is it, and let's say this remote here is the dog. You could literally take it, and you could go, right? And literally, that intensity is enough to stop the behavior, right? So again, little pressure as we can, but as much as we need to, right? No differently than I could take an e-collar. Say this is my e-collar. Goes from 0 to 100. 0 through 15, you ain't even going to feel if it's on you because it's so freaking low. 100 gets pretty aversive, obviously. And they could jump on somebody and I could tap them at a 5, right? A 5. And maybe that's enough where they're like, oh, that's annoying. And they stop, right? This is the same thing as if I had a video of that and I corrected a dog at a 5 and this guy was like, the mechanics are you take an e-collar and you electrocute the shit out of your dog when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Why don't you make a video and demo you taking an e-collar and electrocuting the shit out of a dog with it? I bet all your followers would love to see you electrocute dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is where you get into, again, arguing semantics of words, right?
Yep.
And certain words just have more emotional charges than others. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not denying that the bonker, when you throw it at a dog, hits them. That's not what I'm denying one single bit, right? But what I'm arguing is that nothing that aversive is happening, right? Nothing that's causing any sort of pain or physical discomfort is happening when you go and do that, right? All that's happening is a very big emotionally charged response out of humans because of what it looks like.
Yep.
That's it. And here's the thing. In the bonker, right, for example, I've seen plenty of dogs that don't give a shit about a bonker. You bonk them all day long and they're like, oh, is that a toy? You know, like literally they'll pick the thing up and be like, oh, we're playing right now kind of thing. So then you get into like, as well, you know, we create these associations in our head of, you know, what things are, right? And how the dog should perceive certain things. Where, you know, in Hank's case, right? E-collar set to 100, don't give a fuck. He don't give a shit about it. That ain't aversive at all. Towel being thrown at him, end of the world, right? In the case of the dog with the pet corrector we talked about, same deal. E-collar correction, this, that, don't care at all. Air being blasted closely next to me, end of the world. I talked about a dog I worked with in Chicago that they tried to be nice to the dog, and instead of training the dog with stimulate, this was Oreo. Remember Oreo?
Yep. I remember Oreo.
Instead of training the dog with stimulation on the e-collar, they wanted to be nicer and use the vibration function. Vibration. My phone vibrates in my pocket all day long. My Apple Watch vibrates when I get notifications, right? Why would vibrate be this? I want to use, so many people used to ask me, I would like to use the vibrate. I prefer to use the vibrate function. This dog, traumatized from the vibration. Absolutely petrified of the vibration on the e-collar, and they actually did more harm with the e-collar than if they just used stim in the first place. And when we switched to using just the stim, the dog was fine.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like we create these things in our head of this should be this way. This should be this way instead of looking at the dog we're working with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like me, for example, we didn't actually wind up doing this. I was going to make a bonker so Josh could bonk me as freaking hard as he could. And then I was going to take an e-collar and put it on myself and put it up to 100 and have me tap it. And listen, i've done both of those things. I've had an e-collar on me on 100 before. And, you know, again, I've lived to tell the tale, obviously.
Yeah.
And I've had somebody throw a bonker at me before. And obviously it's not that big of a deal. You ever have a pillow fight when you were younger?
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I would rather somebody bonk me all day long than have somebody correct me on 100 all day long.
For sure.
But guess what? I'm not the dog. I'm not the dog. You know what I mean? So why is it that in all these trainers, they post, you know, we want you to stop using prong collars and e-collars and definitely bonkers, right? Why are we creating this perception that a bonker is so much worse than an e-collar, right?
I don't know.
Here's another story, right? I have a friend of a friend, let's say, somebody that I don't know that well. Right?
Yeah.
I know them well enough, right? But they're not really closely connected with me. They're not like, oh, David the dog trainer. I listen to all this stuff. I know all about these tools and stuff like that. They got a dog, and on their own, I was having a conversation with them one time. They were like, have you ever heard of the Bonker? I was like, yeah, I've heard of the Bonker. I know what it is. They're like, oh my God, we got this new dog and we found out about this method called the Bonker on the internet and we did it with our dog and it was a 100% game changer. It was the greatest thing that ever happened. They suck out that information, found it on their own, and in their mind, they had the opposite response. They're like, a Bonker is nicer than an e-collar.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you get into semantics of like whose opinion is correct in these situations.
Yeah.
The answer is nobody's opinion but the dog. Right?
Yeah.
We use what works, right? And I have to, as a trainer that's in the public eye, I have to factor in all of these emotional responses, right? I can't always just look at the dog, even though everything is centered around that, obviously, right? Which is why I have personally chosen, I don't know what the hell that was. I have personally chosen to make the Bonker my last resort tool, right? I do not go for that tool unless I absolutely have to because I understand how much people hate it, right?
Yeah.
Again, as I just said, I don't agree with how much everybody hates it necessarily, right? But there are situations that I think it's completely inappropriate. Yeah. But I think in some of these cases, it's extremely appropriate and it's extremely effective, right?
Yeah.
But I keep it as a last resort tool for those reasons, right? But that doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
Yep.
Plain and simple, right? And if we were able to achieve the results we achieved with this dog because I decided to use it, why wouldn't we continue to use it?
Exactly.
I don't understand. Whatever. Let's keep going through these comments. Bonking isn't training. It's abuse. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, again, define abuse. So does that mean, because we like to humanize everything, that if let's say one day, Josh, let's say one day you showed up at the house and I was hiding around the corner and you walked in the house and I bashed you over the head with a pillow. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, and I'm also not saying that that's what we do to dogs, obviously. I'm obviously not saying that, and I'm saying that because that's another thing somebody's going to fucking clip right, and put somewhere, right? Let's say I did that. Am I abusing you, Josh?
I would say no. You hit me with a pillow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Whatever. Somebody else. The Bonker, and then this face. You know what face that is? You know what face that reminds me of? That's
what?
The Grogu face.
The Grogu. Oh.
Did you watch last episode yet?
No, haven't
God
yet.
damn it, I don't want to talk about it. Somebody else. To clarify, you hit the dog in order to gain compliance? Yikes. Thanks for clarifying that to me. And again, semantics of the word. Sure. Do we electrocute dogs all day long? Is that what we do? I say no because I don't like that use of the word, but technically it's electricity, so isn't it technically speaking electrocuting dogs all day? Sure. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, right? This person actually came to our defense here, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Somebody else. Gross. Dogs don't deserve to be hit. They don't need to be hit. Even with a rolled up towel, there are so many effective ways to work on reactivity and aggression humanely. I recommend checking out Michael Shikashio if you want to learn what a true professional dog training and behavioral modification should look like for aggression behaviors. Since you said in the comments that you're open to learning more. Okay, I went on this guy's page. First off, let me also clarify another thing here. I have absolutely zero problem with positive only trainers that don't do this shit. Zero problem, right? Listen, we are all out here trying to help dogs. I think that there are plenty of dogs that some positive only stuff will work effectively for a lot of what you need to accomplish. Yeah. Right? The problem is, you go to some of these people, right? Like I went on this guy's page, and again, I don't want to talk shit on this guy because this guy isn't in our comment section being an asshole, right? He looks like a very nice guy from his page. I went on his page a little bit, right? But even this guy, you go on his page, he teaches a bunch of classes, right? He doesn't work with, I'm sure he works with dogs, right? Yeah. But every single one of his posts is like a PowerPoint presentation he's giving to people, right? And it gets into like, this is the like why this should work. But like nobody really actually has the proof that it actually does work. You know what I mean? That's the problem. And here's the thing. To this comment, I had after I made that story this morning, I had a bunch of people I had really great conversations with in the DMs that messaged us. Some people that are clients of ours, right? That were like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Educate me. Help me understand this, right?
Yeah.
And I had one client, phenomenal client of ours, right? Did training with him a year or so ago. He's been a huge supporter of us, always comments on our stuff. That wonderful guy, very educated guy, you could tell. And he commented, and he's like, you kind of avoided a lot of the comments of people saying that you were hitting dogs. He's like, do you have a video that you could show me of the bonker so I can understand what you guys are talking about? Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, because I do have a video of it. And of course, I'm not going to fucking post it now for you guys all to repost all over the place. Sent the guy the video, right? Again, I have nothing to hide. And frankly, if anybody really wanted to do some sleuthing here, what was I saying?
Sleuthing.
Oh, yeah. If you really want to do some sleuthing on our page, you'll find it. It's there. We didn't hide it from anybody. We posted it for the fucking world to see, right? And I sent it to him, and I explained the context of everything. And frankly, in the video, I explained the context of everything, right? And he said back, he's like, all right. He's like, I understand. It doesn't look good, right? He's like, but understanding the context of it and understanding... He's like, it doesn't look good, so I can understand the critics, but I understand that given some 1% dogs, this is completely necessary as a tool, right? Yep. And he said, all of those people, from the looks of things that say there's better ways to do it, are not able to provide any sort of evidence that they actually can do it.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. So basically, in a nutshell, like, who are we to argue? You know what I mean? Like, you could argue this all day long, but there's still no evidence, right? Nope. So whatever. So... going on here. Since when is hitting your dog part of training, right? Again, getting into semantics. Since when is choking your dog a part of training for all the positive only trainers that don't want to use proper training equipment and let the dogs choke themselves all day long on the end of the leash pulling? Right? You know what I mean? Like, we could play this game back and forth. Since when is starving your dog to get their food drive high enough to work them because you can't use any other tools a part of training? Right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like semantics of all of this kind of stuff. We could go back and forth like this all day long and come up with these horrible, horrible things. Oh, yeah. Right? Last time I checked, hitting a dog was known as abuse. Here's the other thing that frustrates me about when you get into abuse. Dog abuse is a federal crime. It's a federal crime, guys. Right? If I was abusing dogs, I would be in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, legitimately. I would be in jail, but I'm not. Whatever.
Have any of them ever seen like sport dog training at all? Like,
I don't know, man. The miracle of balance training is abused. At least y'all are finally being honest about it. Yikes. Imagine charging people money just to do this to their dog. This is the other thing that kills me, right? I didn't do anything in the video, though. Right? You're also creating assumptions in your head of what the entire experience looked like. Yeah. And you don't know because none of you saw a video of it. No. This person, what is a bonker? You go on her page. It's a fucking positive only trainer. This guy. The magic of balance training is hitting the dog with a rolled up towel. Did I reply back to this one? Yeah. Okay. So this is where I invited him on the podcast. I said, hey, John, since you still have nothing better to do than comment on our stuff and want to talk with us so bad, I'd like to invite you on my dog training podcast that I do every Thursday to chat and talk about whatever you'd like. You know, educate the people that you want to educate so badly because he's all over our comment section. I said, this was great too. He's in Rhode Island, I told you. Yeah. I said, in addition to that, I'll be in Newport next month and would be happy to drive wherever you're at so we could train dogs together and chat about anything you'd like for you to film and do what you will with. Let's link up and actually discuss it unless you're interested in arguing in the comment sections of videos and your stories all day long. This is where... Sure, just send me over your credentials for me to verify where you went to school, continuing education, where you've worked. Once I've confirmed all that, I'll be happy to come onto your podcast and explain to you and your listeners how hitting dogs is abuse. I said, LOL, okay, bro, keyboard warrior it is. Come talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're in our comment section. I said, I'd be happy to meet up with you. I do usually only make time to meet with actual professionals, so please send over your credentials, like where you went to school, degrees, etc., and insurance informations for verification. So classic response. I'm sure you could find my contact info. Just send over your credentials, and I'll be happy to make time for you. I said, you know I don't have any of the credentials you'll be looking for. So many maybe I was supposed to be maybe. I was heated. I was missing words all over the place. I was like, I don't have any of the credentials you'll be looking for, so maybe you should stop spending so much time in my comment section trying to talk to me since it doesn't matter. Come on, let's have a conversation on my podcast so you could school my uneducated ass and my listeners. I said, but you won't because you're a keyboard warrior and everyone can see it. That'll be my last response because I wanted everyone to see your actual intentions. Because again, the intentions here have nothing to do with him actually caring about the dogs.
Yep.
If he cared about the dogs, he would do it for the dogs. I'm just looking for some proof of actual education and training, behavior, anything like that. I find it hard to believe that someone with your following and such alleged skills doesn't have any proof they learned these things from other qualified professionals. So just send it over when you get a chance. Then let me know the time and date, and I'll block it off on my calendar. Also, let me know where I could send the invoice. My time isn't free. Then he said, no, my time is valuable. You want me as a guest? You compensate me for my time. And again, I didn't even say anything back to him. He just started getting all psycho. Like literally started getting like really psycho. I've looked at your website and videos. Just about all the dogs are miserable unless they're playing. It's clear you don't know the first thing about body language. Do you think those tucked tails mean they're happy? What happens when I come on your podcast and you start talking to me this way, to me like you are a child? I don't think I talk to him in any sort of way. I think he's the one that's being real psycho right now. You can't even have an adult conversation when challenged. You immediately turn to insults or bring up irrelevant things like followers and interactions. I could pay for followers too. I wouldn't waste my time with such an insignificant insect that is so unliked they need to resort to hitting a dog with a rolled up towel. You should be ashamed of yourself. That got real psycho real quick. Did that not? Like, that was some crazy shit.
Well, you pushed his button or something.
Dude, like, and the thing that killed me was I didn't say anything between this comment and that comment. He just went over the top. But it's because they all took place like a while. Like, there was like 10 minutes in between each of those. And I stopped replying to him, obviously. And it pissed him off because he wants me to reply or block him so fucking bad. That's it. Yeah, you know, like, again, you get into all these. This was another one that killed me, the lives of wild dogs. This isn't balance training. This is compulsion-based training. So basically abuse without the sugarcoating. Not sure why uneducated people who clearly don't like dogs choose to work with them. Must feel good to have control over a sentient being who allows you to abuse it because you've been bred for thousands of years to love humans or something like that. Gross. This is another one I invited on the podcast. I said, can you define balance training for me then? I just want to be clear. If you're going to say I'm not a balance training, I'm curious what a positive-only trainer then thinks that balance training is. What is it, right? Because if balance training isn't using all ends of the spectrum, what actually is it? Please define it for me. She said, LOL, I don't take homework assignments from strangers on the internet. You know what you're doing. You fully know hitting a dog is abuse. Right? Again, like, I'm not avoiding this hitting. We discussed the semantics of it, right? Like, you have to define to me what hitting constitutes as, right? And then you have to define to me, when we get into the different variations of hitting, why some of these cases, it's so bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right? Like, let's take, just to continue this conversation here, right? Let's take the pillow example. Let's say you walk in the house, I hit you with a pillow. Right? Then let's say you walk in the house and I fucking punch you in the face really hard. Right? Here's the difference to me, right? When you get into hitting as a serious negative, right? Hitting is something that is going to cause damage, right? You are striking to inflict pain, right? That to me is abusive hitting, right?
Yeah.
Non-abusive hitting could be literally anything that touches you. You know what I mean? Technically, I could just go, right? Yeah. And hit you. Would that not constitute as hitting?
I guess so, yeah.
I'm curious here. Hang on.
Are we looking up the definition?
Yeah. Hit. Bring one's hand or a tool or weapon into contact with someone or something quickly and forcefully. The woman hit a mugger with her umbrella. Strike a target. An instance of striking or being struck. An instance of striking the target aimed at. Right? So hold on.
Ow.
Did I strike my target?
Yeah.
I abused you, Josh.
All right, so Hank...
All right. Don't take homework assignments from strangers on the internet. You know hitting dogs is abuse. So it's not a homework assignment. It's a question so you can clarify what you originally said. If you have no intention of providing that, what was the point of the comment in the first place, right? You know what the difference is, unless you're even more clueless than I thought. Stop playing dumb. I said, are you going to answer it in your own words for everyone to see or not? LOL, what? I truly don't care who sees it, as long as you see it. You literally abuse dogs and profit from it. Seriously, think about that for a second. You take people's money to hit their dog. Said, I would like for you to help educate me on what is the difference about my training from real balance training. You said it is not what I do. I think it is. I am open to hearing out your opinion on what it is to see if I'm missing something. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to leave a comment and you're going to leave a really mean comment and you're going to leave a comment implying that I'm doing something really horrible, you should be prepared to back it up. If you're not being facetious, which would surprise me, please look at the extensive amount of resources I have on my Instagram. A good place to start would be the peer-reviewed research highlight. This highlight in itself has a wealth of information. If you would like to have a conversation, you could compensate for me my time. I'll accept double the rate you charge your clients for one-on-one training. Looks like that would come to $300 US for an hour of my time. That would only be fair for the amount of education I have. PhD, postdoctoral studies, Karen Pryor certification, and continuing education. I said, can you point me in the direction of one of your posts that explains what balanced dog training is specifically, as if that's where I should look? She said, I'll let you pursue on your own. Have fun. I truly hope you learned something. Good luck to you. Oh, my God. So I told her I'd be happy to compensate you the $300 to be a guest for an hour on my podcast to discuss these topics since you can't help me here. It would be completely unedited. I only do podcasts with credentialed and educated evidence-based trainers or science-based animal welfareists. Can you provide your dog behavior, training credentials, and dog-related education? As far as I see, you're not an evidence-based trainer and certainly don't seem to prioritize animal welfare. I'm not sure why you think I haven't helped you out here. I've provided more than enough resources on my Instagram for free. Perhaps you still haven't taken the time to read them. Whatever. Went back and forth for a little bit there. So you got all these people, whatever. The comments go on, right? And this is basically what we've been dealing with for a little bit here. So, we've discussed here, first and foremost, right, where this is coming from. We've discussed this as why our page is being targeted, why I take such offense to this kind of stuff, because again, it's not about me. It's about the fact that this is happening to so many other people that don't have the ability to defend themselves in the way that I do, right? I have platforms I can come onto like this where I can defend myself. I have loyal enough followers, fans, clients, that I could have logical, rational discussions about things with, right? Yeah. Where I could clarify things. I could address concerns, right? I've already built trust with enough people and trust in our brand and our reputation where it's not going to affect us very much. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're at this point, like we're pretty much past it. We haven't gotten any bullshit today from it. Maybe one or two things in the morning, Yeah. Other people don't have that, right? And that's what's so frustrating about these types of situations. In addition to that, obviously we discussed the use of some of these tools, where we implement some of these tools, why they can be so effective with some dogs, right? I'm not telling everybody to go out there and start bonking their dog, but I am saying that there are tons and tons and tons and tons of people who it's been a game changer for them. It's been a lifesaver for them, right? It's helped them over the top get success in cases that they have not found success before, right? Yeah. And I also discussed why I'm empathetic to why some people don't like the tool, right? And the public perception of the tool and the public perception of any time, regardless of the semantics of the word hit, anytime you quote unquote hit the dog with anything, people are going to have an issue with that sometimes. I understand, right? I get it. I completely get it. But this is just getting to the overall conversation about how context is everything. Context is everything. right? How you discuss things, how you implement things, why you're implementing things, why you do some of the things that you do. And I think it's really important that anytime we're disagreeing with certain things, that we get that context. We don't react irrationally in a way where we're just making ourselves look stupid, you know? And I don't know, you know, it's been an interesting ride running into all of these types of scenarios, you know? One of the last times I can remember something like this happening, like to this extent, and it actually was way worse than this. I posted a video of Hobbs. You remember Hobbs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 216.
Hobbs in the 216, yes. So Hobbs was like a fear aggressive dog that came in.
Yeah.
And I made a video with him discussing interacting with a fearful dog, right? And, you know, past forget, we read all the mean TikTok tweets. Like, we've been getting blown up on there. Like, that ain't new, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, like, the out of nowhere, like, Instagram blow up, right? We posted a video saying, like, interacting with a fearful dog, right? Or interacting with a fear aggressive dog.
Yeah.
And I was discussing where I interact, this, that. And he had an e-collar and a prong collar on in the video, right? And it got, like, reposted on somebody's, like, positive only trainer page like that or something like that. And, dude, this was when I was, like, newer, right? And I went through, like, it was like 5 or 6 days of, like, not even exaggerating, like hundreds of comments a day of people, same deal. You're abusing dogs. I hope this happens to you. I was getting, like, death threats over it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, and so the Bonker, we talked about how Gary Wilkes created it. So Jeff, as John said in his post of Beware of the Bonker, Jeff Gelman kind of re-implemented the tool because he started realizing how effective it was, obviously. And he posted a lot of videos of him using it, right? Kudos to that guy, right? Like I said, we posted a video of it, obviously, that whatever, people can see if they want to. But I understand why you wouldn't want to post a lot of videos of it, right? And he posted a bunch of videos of him using the thing. And somebody spliced together like a 5-minute long video of him bonking dogs or something like that. And it, like, blew, like, I'm talking like millions of views, right? Like, blew the fuck up, right? And he was getting... Well, first off, let's address that video went totally viral, the one I'm talking about that came out of him. Guess who's still training dogs and not in jail right now? Him. Because I think we're all aware that it's not abuse.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
It's not, right? It really is not, especially when you have the context of why it's being implemented, right? Now, I'm also not saying that I agree with every situation he used it in. Just like I don't agree of every situation positive only trainers train in. Just like I don't agree of every situation people use a prong collar over an e-collar in, or an e-collar over a prong collar in, or this or that. You know what I mean? Just like we watch the Tom Davis videos, and I don't agree with the way that he's training certain dogs, right? I don't agree with the specifics behind how he's implementing his communication and stuff like that, right? We could not agree with things, right? That doesn't mean that they're doing anything that's so deeply wrong, though.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever. Video blew the fuck up, right? He got all this flack for it. People were, like, sending stuff to his dog training facility. They were sending, like, death threats to his house. They were calling and, like, finding phone numbers for his family and, like, calling his family and saying stuff and things like that. Like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the industry that we work in, and this is the world that we live in right now. You know?
Yeah.
This kind of stuff happens.
Oh, yeah.
So
People are crazy, man.
what do you think? You got any thoughts on this stuff? I feel like I just ranted for an hour and 20 minutes.
You did. Yeah, I think they're all stupid. No offense, but kind of offensive. I don't know. It's just my thing is, if they really had a point to come across, then say it. They won't say it on the post. They won't come on here. I don't understand. Like, if you had such an opposing opinion that you thought was right, wouldn't I would fight.
Get it out there,
yeah, I'd want to get that out there. Exactly. So I don't know. I just don't understand. I just don't understand, really. I mean, if you really care about the animals and all this shit, well, put your money where your mouth is.
I don't know, man. It's frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, it's frustrating that we can't have conversations when we disagree about stuff, And it's frustrating that we go to such extremes sometimes and come to these ridiculous conclusions that we draw about things that we don't understand that much.
Yeah.
And, you get into, any of the situations. So there's another balance trainer that was kind of commenting on the post back and forth with some people arguing with them about like, you guys, like we want to see how you guys work through these issues. Right. Yeah. And, some of these people were like tagging him in like videos of like positive only trainers, like training reactive dogs. And it was always one of two things, right? It was either a dog that was reacting to other dogs and then was not reacting to a fake dog, like a stuffed dog in the corner or something, which doesn't count.
No.
Right? It was a situation where a dog is reacting to another dog that's over there, and then in that same exact context and only that same exact context, the dog was no longer reactive. And listen, here's the thing, right? Let's say I have a dog reactive dog, right? And I want to make it look like I fixed the dog reactivity, right? Realistically, I could have you stand over there with a dog. I could stand over there with a dog, and we could just stand there for an hour, right, for our whole training session. And by the end of that hour, at some point, the dogs are going to tire themselves out, and they're going to stop reacting.
Yep.
Right? The issue is the surprise scenarios. The issue is when the dog is putting pressure on the other dog that's going to trigger that dog. The issue is when the other dog is reacting and your dog is not reacting. There's so many different scenarios that have to be generalized and set up in order to make sure that you've actually worked through the problem, right? Yep. Or the third one is one of these people saying my dog was dog reactive, right? And posting a video of the dog paying attention to them while another dog is passing by, which again doesn't count to me because here's the thing, right? Just like we could define semantics of hit, we could define semantics of reactive, right? Reactive could just be my dog sees another dog and gets excited and kind of tries to pull over. Right?
Yeah.
Reactive could be my dog sees another dog and goes like this. Whoo! Right? Reactive could be my dog sees another dog and gets scared and tries to run away from it.
Yeah.
Reactive could be my dog sees another dog and tries to fucking kill it. Right? Reactive could be my dog sees another dog and actually goes into a full-on frenzy psychopath mode. Yeah. And those are the dogs we're talking about.
Yep.
Right? Listen, I give credit where credit's due, right? You can accomplish a lot with positive reinforcement only, right? You could get really great engagement out of dogs that aren't the really extreme reactive cases, and you could get them to ignore other dogs, and it'll be fine.
Yep.
It's possible, right?
It is.
It's not reliable real world because if for whatever reason your dog decides not to do it, you don't have any sort of leverage to get them to stop doing it in that moment. But there's a realistic possibility that you could train the dog that way, and it's like, as long as you don't ever let the dog off of a leash and like try to test it, it'll probably be fine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And if that's the life you want to live with your dog, that's fine. I have no problem with that, right? I have bigger goals with my dogs, right? I do different things with my dogs. I go for off-leash hikes in populated areas, right?
Yeah.
We live in Cleveland, Ohio, not in like rural Montana or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there's more types of distractions out. I take my dogs into public settings with me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Like I do a lot of different things that I'm pretty freaking confident that a lot of these trainers aren't able to do with their dogs. And listen, like I said, I'm not saying that makes me right and makes you wrong. I'm just saying for the life I'm trying to live with my dog, your method would not work for that. For the life that a lot of my clients want to live with their dogs, your method would not work with that.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't mean I hate what you're doing. It just means we have different goals, right?
Yep.
And if that makes me unfair, if that makes me so cruel that I would make these dogs do something that requires me to create boundaries and consequences for stuff, so be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to call that abuse, because technically speaking, I could not do those things and then not have to punish my dog for making mistakes in those scenarios, so be it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like nobody wins in this conversation. Like, I'm not winning in this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having a conversation right now defending my point of view and trying to explain to people why we're in the place that we're in. You know what I mean? But, like, it's not I know this conversation is not going to change anybody's mind, right? It's just where we're at. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
you know? True. And it's frustrating, but like, here's the thing, right? We try to stay in our own lane with it, right? I try to not stir the pot with that kind of stuff too much, right? I try to be as transparent as I can about what I do. I said this from day one that we started doing the vlog recently, right? We started doing the vlog because I have no interest in hiding anything. Nothing.
Yeah.
Every single thing we do at the facility, it's open for you, you know? Any single thing that we do, I'll do, you know, I would do in front of anybody, you know, if I was able to give the right context of things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I think we talked about this before. I don't remember if it was on the podcast or on here. What if somebody went through our posts, and there's tons of videos you can find of me correcting dogs with e-collars, right? What if somebody went through and pulled 65 different corrections, right? And just clipped together a video of only those 65 corrections with no context behind why any of them were given. And it was just a bunch of videos of dogs looking like, ooh, this, that, right? That would look like shit. That would look horrendous.
Yep.
I would not post that video, obviously, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't correct a dog in front of the owner. Almost every single time I've ever used the Bonker, it has been directly in front of the owner the first time that I've done it, right? And again, I don't use that tool very often, right? It's been directly in front of the owner, or I've spoken with the owner about why we did it. In Hank's case, I have video of when I bonked him, right? And I showed it to the owner. I wanted her to see, this is how we got the progress we got with your dog. And you know what she said? She's got a little bit of an accent. It's funny. Whatever. Not the accent. It's not funny, but how she said it was funny. She said, "Give me the Bonker now."
Give it
to me right now.
Yeah.
That's what she said. You know?
Oh, Lord.
Because she's struggling.
Yeah.
Dude, fucking seriously. She is in, you want to talk about dogs in pain? She is in pain. She is in emotional distress and emotional pain of the fact she might have to fucking get rid of her dog or put her dog down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like, and we're not fucking playing around. This is not even joking about it anymore. Why is the human's pain not something that's factored into the equation? Right?
It's a good question.
Why is safety that's not something that's factored into the equation? Right? And listen, I know that like the argument to that from positive only trainers, when I've seen that argument be said, is, well, if you're in that position, the dog should probably just be put down anyways. Right? I don't believe that to be true. You know, I'm willing to go above and beyond and figure out and experiment with ways that might possibly work before we resort to that option. And I'm not saying you're wrong by some dogs do need to be put down. I'm not saying that at all, right? But what I'm saying is I'm going to try fucking everything before we resort to that. I'm going to try fucking everything. I don't care how much you don't like it. I am going to make sure that my job as a trainer has been to resort to every single option possible before we ever resort to that.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's what separates me from them. They won't do that, which is, listen, again, if they weren't in my comment section, I wouldn't care. Stay in your lane, and I don't give a fuck. That's what I'm going to do because people are hiring me to help them. I'm not just profiting off of abusing dogs, right? I'm not just profiting off of hitting dogs. I give a shit about my fucking clients, and I give a shit about the dogs that I work with. And that's it.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. Oh, man. How you feel?
I feel like I got a lot off my chest.
That's good.
I feel like I hardly drank any of this beer because
know.
I talked the whole goddamn
The whole time.
But I feel like that's probably a pretty solid place to end.
Yeah. I think so too.
That's where I'm at. That's my perspective on these things. So listen, like I didn't have notes going into this. This is an unorganized, let's just fucking talk kind of thing, you know? And that's, you got to weed through it a little bit there. You got to piece some things together. There was a lot of like, we're starting this conversation, then going to this, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yep.
So.
All right.
What do you think, Josh?
I think it was a good one. I can't wait to see how they take this, but I don't give a fuck.
Take it.
Take it.
Take it.
Take it.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap that up on that. Hope you guys liked it. Actually, this is not a podcast for you to like necessarily. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this is not a podcast for fun entertainment purposes. No. This is a podcast where we're just discussing some real shit.
Yeah.
So hope it brought some value, Hope
Value. There
Hope,
we go.
if anything, regardless, like, listen, past just them, right? Let's say people that do like me that are like, you know what? I don't know about this. That's okay, right? I hope this brought some clarity to you, you know? And I hope you got a little bit into the mind of David the Dog Trainer a little bit.
The mind.
I'm sorry, I watch all those Liver King videos. Liver King always refers to himself in the third person.
I know.
I'm going to start doing that.
Oh, God.
I'm not actually going to do that.
No, please don't.
David the Dog Trainer wants you to know to not be an asshole on social media also.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not helping
That's
anybody.
really it. All right, we're going to wrap that up.
All right.
We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. See ya.